Maybe you've got a thing to do. The deadline's there, it's on its way, but some part of you says, I don't want to. It's not here yet. And you might wonder, why can't I just start? You may be dealing with what I'm calling a wandering mind. My name is Dr. Kourosh Dini. I'm a psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, and I've been working with wandering minds, clients and my own, for many years now. What I've come to understand is that the trouble is not laziness. It's not necessarily attention either. It's something more subtle, something underneath. In this video, I want to share what's happening when the advice, just start, fails, and what makes it possible in time to begin things, to engage things, without force. At the end of the last video I made, we landed on a couple of questions. When we're in flow, we might wonder, how did I get here? And when we're not, how do I get there? It can be so elusive. There's no quick answer. There's no hack to making things work. Before we can begin to answer these, we have to look at where most of the conversation about wandering minds tends to go wrong. Because these surface things, these framings, the ones that are in common use, name real things, but then mistake them for the central thing. What's underneath tends to be that subtler, more important part of what's actually happening. So, attention. ADHD has this word attention in its name. It's a reasonable place to start. Attention for a wandering mind is often a struggle. So is hyperactivity, doing too much that some of us know very well. So is the opposite, the slow, heavy feeling of, I can't even move my limbs right now. More recently, the conversation expanded to include emotional dysregulation, this wave where a feeling can rise and crash in ways that are faster, perhaps, than we can even register them. Each of these are real. Each names something we often live with. None of them alone, however, is the central issue. What they have in common is that they describe some surface matter, the things we see. The missed appointments, the 4 projects that we started this week but haven't completed, the meltdown over something that seems small. They're less accurate as descriptions of what's happening more deeply. And that's where the leverage actually lives. So let's go in that direction and see what we can find. The clue is one we tend to dismiss. It's small. It's not glamorous. It's the phrase, I don't wanna. It sounds childish. It gets dismissed even by the person saying it. Often the moment we do say it, we say something like, I don't wanna, but I have to, but I should. And then we shove ourselves through whatever it was, or we wind up being distracted by something impulsively somewhere else, wherever. So let's pause here for a moment with that feeling, the I don't wanna feeling. Some part of us is saying no. It's not always rational, it's not always at the right moment, but it's there, unmistakably. Some part of us, paying attention to something we cannot quite name, is weighing in. So again, that standard response is to override it, force ourselves past it, just start. Sometimes, briefly, when we do that, something kicks into gear. We do start, and for that one task, we get something done. Maybe we even get on a roll. We're getting the next one done too. But every time we override these feelings, it can leave a mark, if not injury. And then it becomes harder and harder to start as we go on. I don't wanna is a cry of what I call injured agency. When we use force, we don't just push through to avoid some missed deadline or dropped project. Something more costly happens. We erode a sense that we can decide and engage on our own. Every time we force an override of the I don't wanna, we tell ourselves, some part of ourselves, you don't have a say. And over time, that part either believes it or it forces itself into the picture some other way. Causes us to crash, to avoid, to rebel against the work we intended, not to mention showing up in a host of other unrelated ways. It's a worsening spiral. The more we use force, the less agency we feel. The less agency we feel, the more we resort to force, because what else is there? The wandering mind, which began as this mind capable of unusual, if not powerful, perception and creativity, slowly becomes a mind that cannot trust itself. Can't trust itself to do the simple things, can't trust itself to do the difficult things, the menial things, sometimes the things we even enjoy. Except for just where we spontaneously happen to land. Maybe we can do that. The damage created isn't loud. It doesn't show up on a deadline tracker. It shows up on a quiet afternoon when nothing's urgent. No one's breathing down our neck. And we still can't bring ourselves to do any of the things that we wanted to do. Again, that moment's not laziness. It's an injured sense of agency that we're feeling. Now, force sometimes works. A deadline close enough, real enough, does get the report done. It's exactly what makes it so hard to put down. But notice what comes with it. When we wait for that urgency to fire, it doesn't arrive alone. It tends to bring a whole host of other emotions with it. Anger, I can't believe I have to do this. Shame, I let it go for this long. Frustration, where's this thing that I even need? Hopelessness, how can I possibly finish this in time? And underneath them, helplessness. How do I keep ending up here? That's the weather, that's the storm. The work gets done inside. It leaves this residue with us. The crueler thing is that even when force works, it doesn't teach what it seems to. We make the deadline, we tell ourselves the sensible thing, hey, next time I'll start earlier. And it never quite sticks, because the harshness is what got us through. So the work and the hurt grow bound together. Each pass leaves a few fresh scars, and we carry them into the next attempt, where many of them reopen. The deadline didn't teach us to start earlier. It taught us that work hurts. So the apparent success deepens the very resistance it overpowered. That's why just start fails. Not because we can't start, but because every forced start tends to make the next one harder. Force injures trust. Injured trust is injured agency. Injured agency reaches for force. It's a loop. Each turn tightens it, and the way out isn't a harder push. It's the slow work that the rest of this series is about. Important to know in this is agency. What is this agency idea? Agency is this power in the depths. It's this core that the surface framings and these surface ideas are reflecting without ever quite naming, defining it. Agency is our ability and skill to decide and engage non-reactively. It sounds a little boring. I get it. But it's vital. So let me say it one more time. Agency is our ability and skill to decide and engage non-reactively. There are three parts to this, and they all matter. First, decide. That we can decide from this moment we're in, that we can choose what to do next. Not the sense of picking some item off of a list, in the sense of feeling settled. Looking at what's there in front of us, hearing, feeling the emotions, what's coming to mind, the ideas that are within us, before us, and then choosing from among those things. Which then leads us to that second part, engaging non-reactively. We can act on a decision without being pushed by panic, by shame, by some other deadline's pressure. That action arises from the decision, not from the storm around it. When that happens, our emotions can become more messengers rather than drivers. Most of what gets named as a wandering mind problem, an ADHD problem, the missed deadline, the 4 projects, the emotional crash, look different through this lens. Things change. It's not that attention is broken. In many ways, it might even be fine. It's that this deciding and engaging has been forced in these different ways that the muscles associated with it are sore, if not injured. So then thirdly, this is an ability and skill. The muscle that is associated with deciding and engaging is there. Each of us has it. It can be practiced, exercised. It can also be over-exercised, strained, healed, depending on how we approach it and what we ask of it. A great deal of the series is about how to exercise our sense of agency without straining it. So that's agency. The second component is trust. To decide and engage non-reactively, that skill of agency, we have to be able to trust ourselves. And we may not have that trust. Trust is the essence in which agency grows. It's such an overused and broad word, isn't it? What do we even mean by it? So let me define that one too. Trust is a feeling that something will continue to behave as it has been, such that we can rely on it. I'm going to say that one more time. Trust is a feeling that something will continue to behave as it has been, such that we can rely on it. So there's a few things that follow from this definition. Let's look at this one closely. First, it's a feeling. It's not a decision. It's not a thought. It's not willed into being. It's not something where someone can yell, "Hey, trust me," as you might see in the movies. It's not the way it works. We can certainly hope for it, but hope doesn't bring it into being. When we say, "I've decided to trust myself," it's a nice sentence. It doesn't mean anything. The feeling is either there or it's not. We don't decide on its existence. We can reflect on it. We can say, "Oh, is it there? Do I trust that?" Secondly, trust is built over time. A new system is not a trusted system. A trusted system is an old system, something that's earned its trust as we've experienced it, behaving with it steadily, hearing it, being with it, feeling it, as it said it would, as it continues to say it does, and we feel it over time. Third, trust is not all or nothing. It's nuanced. Maybe we can trust our calendar, something we visit regularly, but not our reminders, or vice versa. Maybe we can trust our memory for some things, but not for others. Maybe we can trust ourselves to start something and not to stop, or stop and not to start. Most of us, most of the time, are working with partial trusts. Knowing where our trust is partial and where it's whole is its own work. Now here's why any of this is worth saying. Trust and agency can be developed over time. Again, we can't will them into being. Feelings don't generally yield to argument. But we can change the conditions around them. And when those conditions change, our experience changes, which then leads to our feelings changing. So the approach in one sentence is, we don't argue with our feelings. We work with them and with their conditions. Let me give you a few small examples. Let's say we can't trust ourselves to complete a project. Again, that feeling of trust. We can build a small practice of returning to it, maybe with a visit the next day, a short, low-stakes, repeatable something. Maybe that's too difficult. But in those occasions that we can make that return, we gradually experience ourselves changing. We sense a thing developing, our thoughts coming to mind maybe between visits. A thing starts to form over time into completion. And as we are there directly sensing that, being a part of that as it's happening, we form a deeper, even wordless trust that we can follow something through to an end. It's a practice. As another example, if we can't trust our sense of where to begin something in the moment, maybe we're feeling overwhelmed with it, we can begin a practice of pausing in front of it, allowing the thoughts, the feelings to be there without fighting them. The frustration, the overwhelm, the irritation, whatever those feelings are, confusion. Sometimes in those moments we can sense, oh, what if I nudge this little thing forward, or that thing? Sometimes it becomes a little more clear. Sometimes it doesn't. Whether it does or doesn't is less important than the sense of genuine bravery that's building from being in that state. It's that bravery that can exist without force. None of that is fast. None of that suddenly makes everything, there it is. Trust doesn't arrive on some deadline. It has its own pace. As an aside, there's a printable companion here that can walk you through some of the exercises we'll be getting to in this series. It's called the Waves Quick Reference. I have a link to it below, and it's free. This series, then, is about the practice of developing trust and agency in a context where you may feel like you don't have much of that, where it's difficult to do that. In a sense, the question is, how do we start the practice of practice? This is not, despite the company it sometimes keeps, a productivity series. The goal is not to make you a more efficient processor of tasks. That might happen. The goal is also not to give you a system that you can install and forget. I don't think such systems exist. They're much more cultivated than set and forgotten. The goal is to grow over time a sense that you can decide, that you can guide your mind in its natural, inquisitive, powerful way, that sense that you might know is there when you dive deep into something and you discover, when you feel thrilled and engaged by things, that you can pause when pausing would help, that you can return when returning would help, that you can set something down without feeling like you're going to lose it, and you can pick it up again, facing dread if it's there. That you can, in the small and large moments, engage without force. As this practice starts taking hold, you might start noticing a distance from deadlines, a calmer approach to things. It's not the absence of deadlines that are there, but there's a sense that you can meet them earlier with less alarm. You might then find more creativity because that urgency isn't so loud, blaring. You have less need to ask for forgiveness. You have more room for spontaneity. You might begin to see a horizon, a bigger picture that you're too caught up in the storms of the moment to see, and then start being able to say no more often to those things that don't belong there and say yes to the things you want there. Now, knowing what's under the surface, those subtle matters of trust and agency, is one thing. Holding them in mind, practicing with them, when those I don't wanna feelings show up, is another. In the next video, we're going to take everything we just named, wandering mind, force, agency, trust, and bring them together into a single metaphor. A boat at sea, where we act as captain. It's this metaphor that the rest of the series lives inside, and what helps make the practices more possible to see and understand, not just know about. So the next step we'll look at, this next video, will begin with that boat. I hope to see you there.